Meanwhile, the parents of an American beaten to death in Greece is demanding justice. 22-year-old Bakari Henderson was killed in a bar fight last month. 9 suspects have been charged in his death, and now Henderson's parents are talking about their ordeal for the first time. They talked to CBS This Morning co-host Gayle King about the tragedy.
The name Bakari is very unusual. What does it mean?
It means of noble promise.
Of noble promise? Did he live up to that name?
Oh, yeah, and he was proud of it.
Bakari Henderson showed plenty of promise as a recent graduate of the University of Arizona. At 22 years old, he had already traveled the world, and last month he was in Greece to get a new venture off the ground.
He was there for a photo shoot for his new clothing line that he was launching. Phil had originally said, well, maybe you should, have a plan B, and he said, well, plan B is for people who aren't confident in their plan A.
Your response to that was?
It's typical Bakari. I just laughed. I said, okay.
Bakari, it seems, was up for a challenge. This video was shot the day before his parents noticed a missed phone call in the middle of the night from the U.S. Embassy.
I was thinking maybe, okay, you found his wallet. He's over there and he's trying to get to another country. What's going on? So when I called, and I'm hoping, because it's that night call,
Yeah.
you don't want. So I'm just hoping we prayed before we even called her back.
You did?
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah, oh, yeah.
You prayed before you called her
We
back?
prayed because it was coming from, we just prayed that Bakari was okay.
But the news was devastating. Their youngest son had been killed after an altercation in a Serbian bar. A woman told authorities it started when she asked for a selfie with Bakari. She says a Serbian man asked her, "Why are you talking to a black guy?" before hitting Bakari in the face.
Do you think this was a racially motivated incident, or do you just think it was just something that was out of control and he just happened to be the unlucky victim here?
How it started may not have started that way. It may have started out as an American issue and then resulted in, a Black American tragedy.
Your son was a world traveler and clearly very comfortable traveling around the world, true?
Correct, yes.
More
Yes.
comfortable overseas than in the United States. So
What do you
his
mean by
desire.
that? What do you mean?
Well, he just felt it was safer over in Europe and overseas in general. He said, with the climate with African American males in the U.S., that he just felt more comfortable overseas.
Isn't that ironic that he could say to you, I feel more comfortable in another country other than my own?
Yes.
And he ends up losing his life in another country. For what reason, we still don't know exactly.
Exactly.
9 suspects face charges of voluntary manslaughter for the violent beating, which happened shortly after the attackers chased Bakari out of the bar.
Jill, Phil has looked at the tape of that night, and you've chosen not to.
Right.
Because?
Well, I just want to keep his memory alive. I don't want to introduce any negativity into my spirit. And I really do want to remember him as a go-lucky, energetic, fun-loving, happy Bakari. I miss that about him, and I just miss his energy, his hugs, his laugh, his loud, boisterous laugh. His smile, just everything.
Bill?
He just brightens up a room. I'm gonna miss. It's competitiveness. And whenever a sporting event come on, he calls boxing, whatever it is,
yeah.
soccer, he loved it. And I'm just gonna miss that.
I know, have your friends been very helpful for you both to get you through?
The whole family is feeling the void, including younger sister Jory and older brother PJ.
What will you miss most, PJ, about him?
I miss talking. Right now, we would be talking about the Cowboys and Eagles.
Yes, yes,
So it's going into football season without that is different. So yeah, that's what right now is what I'm missing. Just talking sports with him.
They took us to a mural that a stranger painted of Bakari shaded in purple. His mom says that was his favorite color. It also coats the walls of his bedroom.
I knew there would be a lot of trophies in here.
That's where they shared something special.
This is a recording.
It was a prayer Bakari led on a family phone call last June, asking God for health and peace around the world.
I'd also like to pray for Donald Trump. Hopefully he can make our society a better place, not worse.
Those words really resonate in this household as these parents try to make sense of their son's brutal death.
You know, I first thought, what parents would raise such barbarians to do such an evil thing to another human being? And then the Holy Spirit just kind of spoke to me and said, you know what, it's bigger than that. It's so much bigger than that. Because the world that we live in today, our leaders sit back and they just almost condone this type of behavior. So they don't condemn it, and by their silence, they promote it. And so I think in order for us to move forward, we're going to have to do better in general.
What is it that you're still seeking? What is it that you still want?
We want justice for Bakari, and
Justice to you would mean what?
justice would mean to have everyone involved to be locked up, and hopefully for a very long time.
Well, CBS This Morning co-host Gayle King is with me now to talk about this interview. Gayle, are they any
Big
closer?
sigh, yeah.
Are they
Big
any
sigh.
closer to finding justice?
No, they're not. You know, they've hired an attorney here in New York. They've also hired an attorney in Greece, and they're getting ready to go over there. But it's so heartbreaking because, listen, Anne-Marie, this just happened a month ago. This happened early July. So you wonder, how are they able to talk? And listen, they didn't want to talk to us.
Yeah.
This is not a story you want to share with anybody because nobody wants to go through this. But they really want to bring attention to it because they do want justice, and they're hoping that somebody in the government will intervene, that somebody will follow through. Bakari was 6'4". 6'4". He was a big guy, and there were at least 10 people involved in this brutal beating. And they're having a hard time just accepting that nothing's going to happen to these people.
I think the assumption is that if you're an American and you are a victim of such a brutal crime,
Yes.
there is the machinery starts to grind in. There's
Yes.
pressure put on a foreign government. There's support there, but it doesn't sound like there's very much.
Nope, they said they haven't heard from anyone. They heard from Senator Cornyn's office in the very beginning to help get his remains home, but nothing from the governor, nothing from either one of their two senators, nothing from their congressman. And it is very frustrating. Someone has started a GoFundMe page on their behalf so they can raise some money to go to Greece, because as you might imagine, that's going to be very costly.
Right.
But this was such a good family. It still is a good family.
Yeah.
They've got 3 children total. Now they have 2. They did all the right things. And Bakari was clearly, they say, the big light, the big energy center in the city, in the family. And it's left a very big, painful hole.
And it sounds like he had grown up to be the man that they hoped he would be.
Yes.
You talk about, he was a big guy, a guy who could probably hold his own, a world traveler. I'm sure he's found himself in all sorts of different situations,
Yes.
who felt more comfortable in Europe than he did at times in the United States. Do they think maybe he let his guard down a little bit?
And no, they don't. And they think that this was not a kid who went looking for fights.
Yeah.
Even his friends who were there, he was there with 2 white friends. I said, do you hold any ill will about that? They said, no, these kids are grieving too. Everybody was outnumbered. They don't blame their friends for not intervening and the friends not stopping this, because they said the mob was so angry and so brutal, there really wasn't anything that could be done. And it's not a matter of letting your guard down. He didn't think he was in danger. He just goes out to a bar with some friends. It still is very fuzzy what exactly happened in that bar. They still do not know exactly what happened. But this
Because the
wasn't a
story
kid-
that I heard here in your story was, I think, the third version of what sparked
Yeah,
that
there was
incident.
one that there was a selfie taken. That part is true, that he was confronted. Why are you talking to black guys? Another said that somebody in his group put a drink on one of their tables of the group of Serbian men, and they were mad because they saw that as a sign of disrespect. The police report goes to the selfie, and the waitress who was in the bar also tells that story. But nobody really knows for sure. Bakari spoke several languages, had traveled many times, had even been to Greece. So he was very comfortable moving around in the world. And it's just so heartbreaking that he has to lose his life this way over something that's so senseless that did not have to happen. And that's the only reason why his family's speaking up.
And listening to his mom first ask herself, who would raise a barbarian like, which is probably where my thought process and my emotional development would sort of end.
Yeah.
But she goes beyond that, and she says, look, it's bigger than just a handful of guys. And when you see the video there, you see a number of people sort of tumbling out of the bar. You wonder if they were even aware of why they were running, what they were participating in. And she's sort of got a broader philosophy about it.
Yeah, she does say that this is much bigger. She's hoping that it sends a message. And listen to Bakari's prayer, Anne-Marie. It's a family prayer that they were having before the family reunion, where he prayed for members of the family who had not been feeling well. But he also says, I'd like to pray for Donald Trump, that that he takes this country, I'm paraphrasing, in a very good place. I mean, even then, this is a really good person who was looking out for the world in general, just really wanted world peace and really to do and lived his life doing the right thing.
Yeah, it sounds like somebody who would have done great things. It's such a shame. We hear that about, you say that about a lot of stories, it's such a shame, but this really is such a shame.
It really is a shame.
Gayle King, thank you so much.
Thank you, Anne Marie.